All right, guys, we have the Can-amryker 900. I just replaced the CVT belt and the rollers for the secondary clutch, and she's back running. We've been riding it for a couple days now. Wanted to kind of give you guys a rundown on how to do that install. That way you guys can do it on your own instead of paying somebody, $2,000 to do it, or whatever they charge. I'm sure it's somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. And I wanted to show you guys a few tools that really made a huge difference when I was doing this. First one is this here. This is the DeWalt right angle extension for your drill or your impact. This was a lifesaver. Really made it easy to get to a lot of the bolts or screws that were in hard to reach places. Definitely recommend one of these. You can put any kind of bit in there and turn it into a right angle drill. A few more things here that you guys are going to need when you are replacing your CVT belt or your secondary rollers on your Can-amryker. You're going to need some braking parts cleaner. So when you take off your secondary, you can clean off all the fingerprints. You're going to need a punch set. The one that you are actually going to need is going to be the 1/8 pin size, and that's going to knock out your roll pins from the secondary clutch. You're going to need a tool to expand the secondary clutch so that you can remove the belt. And then you're also going to need a compressor tool to compress that secondary in while you disassemble it to put the new rollers in. I purchased both of these from hunterworks.com. These are pretty much the best that you can get. I would not recommend anything else, honestly. So if you need to purchase those, they ship overnight. I got mine right away. Hunterworks.com. They sell the best tools, the best parts for Can-Ams and Polaris and that kind of stuff. They specialize in this stuff. So if you need these tools, I would recommend paying a little more to get the best ones from them. They make your life and your job a lot easier when you're doing this kind of stuff. You could get the El Cheapo style off of Amazon. I do have that one as well. I bought that one just in case. So if you don't want to spend the big bucks to get the really heavy duty one, you can get one like this off of Amazon for about 20 bucks. And that one's going to screw in. This piece here is going to screw into the center of the secondary where your bolt screws in. And then this will screw down onto the face of the clutch to pull the secondary clutch open so that you can get the belt out of the clutch. They also make a thing to hold your clutch, your secondary clutch, in place while you are tightening the bolts. I didn't get one of those, but it may help if you guys want to purchase one of those as well. You will also need a set of Torx bits to do this job. Essentially, you're going to use the T25, T27, T30, and T40, but it comes as a set usually. Just go ahead and buy the whole set. And then I would also recommend an impact drill if you have one handy. An impact wrench also helps with some impact sockets. You're going to use a 15 millimeter, a 17 millimeter, and an 18 millimeter socket when doing this job. So those are a couple other things that you probably want to have handy as well. You could get away with just using a socket set, but this is going to make it a whole lot faster for you and a whole lot easier. Another thing that you're going to need to do this job is a torque wrench. Make sure you get one that says foot-pounds and not inches. You can pretty much get one of these at any hardware store or auto parts store. New Hunterworks belt is going on too. It's supposed to be the best one you can get.
A few minutes later.
So to access your transmission, you need to open the clamshell. So the first piece that you'll take off is your hood. You'll slide that off. You just pull up on those two little clips, and that hood will slide right off for you, just like so. So you just push down on this one and it'll pull right off. Then you'll take this piece off here, and that's going to be held on by the two Torx screws on the bottom there, on the bottom side. That right angle tool really helps get those off. This right here, because if you have a short bit, you can slide it right up under there and get to it. Very helpful. Remove these two screws here. You got two Torx screws right up under here, one there and one there. I believe those are T25 or T27 Torx bit. I can't remember exactly, but one of those two. You'll take those two off, and then this piece here will slide right off. You will also need to remove your air filter covers. This one here, you just turn the screw, it folds down. So just slide it one way and it'll pop right off of there. It's just two little things holding it on right here. Super easy to pull off and get back on. And you can pretty much just slide it off of here. Just pop it off on one side and then the other side will slide off as well. And then set that to the side. And for your other side, super easy to take off as well. You've got two clips on the bottom here, this one and this one. So you just pull it back like this on both sides. And then that slides right off, just like so. Set those to the side. Once you have this and this off, the next piece that you're gonna take off is gonna be these here. So these plastic pieces here will also come off. That's all one piece. And it's gonna have a plastic clip on the bottom here. Take that off. Another plastic clip here by your foot peg. And then this will pretty much just pop out. And you'll notice it comes right out. There's like a little piece right here that just kind of pushes into the frame. So you just pretty much pull on it and that will pop out. Same thing back here. You'll pull out and down and that whole piece will come off. Those two pieces are pretty flimsy. When you're taking them off, you can bend them and stuff. Not saying they can't break, but they're pretty heavy duty. I yanked on mine pretty hard and they did not break. So once you get both of those off, you will have 3 screws that need to come loose. They're going to be behind this panel here. 1, 2, and then another one up here. All 3 of those will come all the way out. So one here, and then one here will come all the way out. And then there's another one here that you just loosen to be able to raise the clamshell. You do not want to take it all the way out. You just loosen it, and that's going to be the one in the very front, which I will show you guys on the next slide. Once you have these pieces removed, your airbox covers removed, your hood and your front grille, the next thing you're going to do is come back here under the seat. You're also going to have 2 screws under here, and it's going to be those 2 right there. Those also need to be removed, and they are, I believe, T25 or T30 Torx screws. I can't remember, but one of those 2. Once you take the screws out on the bottom here and you're ready to lift your clamshell, you're going to lift it by this plastic piece here. Clamshell open. The next step is going to be removing this bracket under the seat. There's a little bracket right here. See if I can zoom in on it. That metal bracket right there that supports your seat. You're going to remove that. It's just one bolt that holds it on. My bolt was stripped out for that, so just be careful and make sure that yours is not. But once you remove that one bolt, it'll let you remove that piece, which is the support for the seat. You're also going to want to remove this bolt right here, which holds on your exhaust. You're going to take that bolt out. Make sure you have something to support your exhaust below it once you remove it. So once you take that bolt out right there, your exhaust will lower down. Make sure you have something under here to support that exhaust, like just a t-shirt or something to keep it from getting scratched. But yes, in order to lift the clamshell, you need to take out that bolt right there that holds the exhaust and the bolt that holds the support for the seat. And you'll see that once you lift up the clamshell, you'll see both of those right up under there. It's just one bolt for each. Once that is complete, Then you can start taking off your transmission cover, and that's going to be I think it was the T30 torque screws, and that's these here. You're going to take those off all the way around. I think it's 14 screws. I use my impact with a T30 Torx bit. You'll take those off all the way around, and then you can slide this cover off. And once you get that cover off, that's when it exposes your belt and your primary and your secondary clutch. And I will show that to you guys on the next screen here. Once you remove the 2 screws under the back seat, your clamshell should be able to raise up and lift it open. You want to make sure you have enough clearance where you can pull this transmission cover off. So once the clamshell is open, make sure that the bottom has enough clearance where when you remove this transmission cover, it can slide out. And you do have to wiggle this around a pretty good bit to get it out. But it comes out pretty easy. You just need to pull the bottom off first and slide it down, and then you can kind of twist it around to get it out. And then also when you put this back on, it has to go on with the top first. So it has to go on at like an angle like this. It's kind of difficult, but once you finally get it, you'll see what I mean. It has to go on like with the top at an angle, and then the bottom comes in as well. And I'll post a picture to show you guys what I mean for that. So I forgot to record myself removing the belt, but all you're going to do is remove this top and bottom seal here that I have circled. Just pull those out by hand, and then you can start removing the belt. Once you have those foam gaskets removed, you can start screwing in your belt removal tool right here in the center where those threads are to open up the secondary sheave so you can remove the belt. So it'll look like this once you start screwing in your belt removal tool, and you'll crank that handle all the way down until it bottoms out, and you'll notice the sheave begin to open and release the belt so that you can remove it. And make sure you remove the belt from the bottom sheave first, otherwise you'll have a hard time getting it off. So at this point, if you're only doing a belt replacement and not replacing your rollers, then the last thing you need to do here is work your old belt off of there once you have that sheave spread open, and then you can work your new belt back on and pretty much put everything back together the way it came off. And then when you're taking that belt off, make sure you take it off from the bottom first. Also, once you get the new belt on the pulleys, you're going to want to put the bike in neutral, which is between reverse and forward on the gear shifter, and that way you can spin that top pulley to work that new belt back up to the top of the pulley there. There's actually another clip closer to the end of the video where I show how to do this, so if you guys need to skip through to that point to see how to do that, it will be closer to the end of the video here. Now, if you're changing your secondary rollers, keep watching. I'm going to show you guys the next steps here in just a moment. When removing this secondary sheave, there is a little washer that needs to stay pushed up all the way to the end of the shaft there. You'll see me pushing it up there. So just make sure you don't lose that and keep it pushed up to the end of the shaft for when you get ready to put this sheave back on. And then once you get this sheave off, I like to screw the bolt back in there, and that way you don't have to worry about losing it. Alright, this is where you're going to use your HunterWorks compressor tool to take the sheave apart for the secondary. You're going to put it on here just like this. You're not really going to put any pressure on it. You're just going to tighten it down. And then you're going to take your impact with a T40 and remove these 4 screws on top. Once you take those out, loosen it up. And make sure you put a mark on all 3 pieces on each side of the sheave, and your helix, which is the piece on the bottom, mark it with a marker, and that way when you put it back together you know how everything lines up. It's a very important step. And then loosen it all up here and everything will come apart. Now you can take the sheave apart just like you see here. Take both pieces off and just set your helix to the side. Now you're going to take your 1/8 roll pin punch and knock out these 2 roll pins that are holding in those rollers. And once you take both of those out, they should slide right out of there once you knock them out with that punch. You can grab them with some pliers if you need to. Then you're going to take your T27 Torx bit and remove the 2 screws that are holding the rollers in place. There's one on each side. These secondaries come with 2 rollers. So you'll pop those out real quick with your impact. They're going to have a washer on there. Make sure you take that washer out with it and you don't lose the little washer. This is what your rollers look like. They will come with these 2 little roller pins as well. And that's what holds it in place when you put the new rollers in. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second on the next clip. So when you're looking at your secondary clutch, these are your 2 rollers. This is what needs to be replaced. A lot of times they get broken and fall apart, especially the factory ones. And when you put the new rollers in the secondary, the screws that hold the rollers in place will have a tiny hole for those pins to slide into to keep those screws from backing out. And so you'll need to line those screws up with the little holes when you put the new pins in. And what I do is just take my impact, shine a light, put it on the side here, and there it is. Maybe a little tighter. There we go. Should go right down in there now. Take your roller pin, slide it down in there. It should get started pretty easy, about halfway in. And then take your punch, hammer, and hammer that thing home, buddy. Doesn't really matter how you put that roller pin in there. I will say doing the punch is a little aggravating. First one didn't go in super easy, but we got it there. This one's going in a little more easy, it looks like. Alright guys, got the rollers in. As you can see, they're good to go. Slap that thing back on. Put this back together. Sheave is going to slide back on like this here. There is a little washer there. You need to make sure it's pushed all the way up. And that sheave should just slide right up in there, just like so. I'm going to put some blue Loctite on this center bolt before we put it back in here, just to be safe. It does vibrate a lot, so you don't want that coming back out of there. So we're just going to add some Loctite to the bottom threads here. There's some blue Loctite, medium strength. You don't want you don't want to use red, it's too strong. Just something that's going to help keep it from vibrating out of there. Put a little
little bit more. There we go. I usually don't like to use an impact putting stuff back on, but I'm just going to tap it. Oh, there we go. Let me back that off a little bit. And then we'll hand tighten it. And then we're going to use a torque wrench to get it to, I think it said 15 foot-pounds. Torque wrench. Just bought this. I was going to go with the cheaper one. I mean, the a little bit more expensive option, but I mean, honestly, I don't use it very often, so even though I do work on stuff here and there, I don't use a torque wrench super often. I usually just use my old trusty impact for mostly everything. I did go with a 1/2 inch wrench. Let's see, it said 15 foot-pounds of torque. So we're gonna have to adjust this some. Okay, it's already loose. So there's 10. Torque wrench. Just bought this. Got the new HunterWorks belt on there. Everything seems to be rolling pretty smooth. I can see the HunterWorks new belt. Got the new HunterWorks rollers. So for anybody changing their belt or their rollers on the Can-amryker, huge tip. Once you get the secondary clutch back on or the new belt, if you're changing the belt, one thing that was very confusing was trying to get the belt back into the correct position at the top of the secondary, and this whole piece here is protruding out like a 1/2 inch, which is not right. So I was trying to figure out what to do. The only way to do that is to put the bike in neutral, so bring the gear shifter between reverse and forward, and then this secondary can spin, which will line the belt up top. It literally was way down inside the secondary here. I put it in neutral. I was able to spin the secondary, and the belt is tightened now. So I think we're good to start putting everything back together, guys. Oh man, I can't wait to get back on the road and ride. Also got the ultimate seat to add on here with the max mount. Yeah, got some upgrades to do to this thing, but hope this helps you guys out. Back on the road. All right, let's see here. We are about to put this bike back together.